Okay, so let's talk about how I use the weight room here. Now, as I did before, and then going into this more intense portion of my journey to being a pro, because we had the tournament here on July 19th for the TBT, playing with Everline Drive. The weight room itself, what I program and what you see on Instagram is the same stuff I basically program for my athletes and the same stuff for my online training team, the online athlete team. If you guys are curious about it, you can check it out. Basically, we train in the weight room to help us move better in general. For me, I make it more specific for the basketball court. And so I'll do different movements in the weight room, but then I'll allocate a certain number of movements for the basketball court. Now, in the weight room, there's basically three things I like to think about. Number one is how much volume I'm doing relative to how much court work I plan on doing. Now that I'm playing basketball at a more intense level, the volume in the weight room has dropped from a day-to-day basis. But over the week, it's actually probably close to similar, if not a little bit less, because I train basically every single day, just a decent amount. Secondly is my upper body is way less than I used to be when I was training, just to be as jacked and as athletic as possible. When I was training to be jacked and athletic, I did a lot more upper body work. Now I save that energy for the basketball court. I don't need to bench press 400 pounds to be a professional basketball player. I bench plenty enough right now that getting any stronger at it isn't really too useful. And lastly, but maybe the most important aspect of it, is we use the weight room to get stronger, and we use exercises to get stronger. We don't train to get strong at any one exercise. And so the end goal is better movement. And so I want to jump, I want to sprint, I want to change direction. And I want to do this in a variety of ways. I also want to get stronger, build muscle mass. I want to get my legs more powerful. But I don't want to do that by just trying to say, I'm going to squat and let's see how much I can squat. Because what happens is squatting becomes the hypercentric focus, and you're like, I'm going to now do these certain accessory lifts to help my squat. But in reality, we only use the squat to train our legs. So in the weight room, I'm using movements to train muscles and train specific patterns. I'm not training specific patterns and muscles to get better at any movement in the weight room, right? I'm trying to get better on the court. And so those are kind of the three areas I like to think about in my training. And it's really important because sometimes you start to fall in love with a certain type of lift as an athlete, and you get caught up in trying to get it stronger. And again, you fall into the I'm in love with the weight room kind of centric model, and you start to focus on that exercise versus remembering that the weight room is simply a tool. So I try to have a lot of dynamic movement, a lot of jumping, a lot of running, a lot of variety of exercises in terms of what we do in the weight room, but stuff that I like and I'm comfortable with. Single leg, double leg stuff, but also making sure if I'm going to do an exercise, it's either being done for maximal strength, maybe maximal rate of force production, maximal speed of movement, coordination. I'm not just doing an exercise for the sake of just doing an exercise, because that's costing me energy. And at the end of the day, I only have so much energy to spend on this kind of training. So I hope that makes sense. Clean, cut, to the point, how I train myself, how I train my athletes, and basically the idea of my online training team. It's my philosophy that I enjoy, I like, and honestly, I like to share with others. So hope that makes sense.